maybe it does mean. Maybe it might.
Right.
Maybe it might.
This fight is so close. They're so closely knitted that you got to look for all the small pieces because the small things are what going to add up to somebody winning the fight.
And fight a guy who might put him in a dogfight, a real one, for the first time in his career.
When we get put in that position, we go find opposition to make that happen. You understand me? So when we go looking for the opposition, we're not concerned about how big they are, how fast they are, how strong they are. We feel like we got enough that we can bring to the table with anybody.
But skill for skill, as far as equality, to me, Bud and Canelo are equal because we're in their career.
The thing I like about Teo's style, I mean, when you have a guy like Shakur whose defense is that good, and he's not just a guy who's going to hug you, he can box, you know? The easiest thing in the world is just to pick him against everybody.
Right.
Yes.
But Teo also has the kind of footwork, Malik, where he steps around guys.
Roy Jones Jr. and Max Kellerman are debating Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, emphasizing mindset, courage, and ambition. They argue that true champions face any opponent at any time, regardless of size, reputation, or risk. Max breaks down the fight, explaining that Shakur has more to lose, while a decisive victory for Teofimo on boxing's biggest stage could mean everything for him.
He's the undefeated fighter. He's seen as the eventual pound-for-pound champ, potentially. But Teo has more to win. He has more to gain. So on the one hand, is there an advantage there where Shakur is fighting to protect that perfect record, to protect that kind of sense that he's the next guy? On the other hand, Teo is like he can fight with more abandon against Shakur because there's so much for him to gain. And if he loses, he's lost before. He lost to Kambosos, and he came back from that. But oh my God, if he can pull it off. Like, if it's a close fight and Teo could keep it close and we're going into the 10th, 11th, 12th rounds, is there an advantage there, given that situation?
He came back from that Kambosos fight, but in some way, the jury is still out on Teo a little bit because I'm going to tell you why. On that card that was done in Times Square, he looked the best out of, with all due respect, out of a lot of people that didn't.
Roy Jones Jr. compares this matchup to Canelo versus Bud, noting the equal power there. But Shakur versus Teofimo becomes a pure skill versus skill battle that will be decided by technique alone.
It's a good damn fight, too. See, that fight is skill for skill as good as this fight. But they just haven't been around long enough to prove themselves yet. But skill for skill, as far as equality, to me, Bud and Canelo are equal because we're in their career, because how accomplished they are. These two guys are also equal when they're in their career, because they're accomplished, but not as accomplished as these two, but they're still equal accomplished. You understand me? So those are two good damn fights and one boxing.
Max Kellerman praises Teofimo's footwork, noting how he moves smoothly around opponents, creates angles, controls distance, and slips past fighters with intelligent movement and sharp ring awareness.
Just have to be honest, the way I see it, I don't think that was the best version of Teo by a long shot. But even then, he was rallying in that fight late. He has championship heart. And the thing I like about Teo's style, I mean, when you have a guy like Shakur whose defense is that good, and he's not just a guy who's going to hug you, he can box, you know? The easiest thing in the world is just to pick him against everybody.
Right.
Yes.
But Teo also has the kind of footwork, Malik, where he steps around guys. And I think about Buddy McGirt, Meldrick Taylor.
Yes.
Roy, you know, where Meldrick had quick enough feet where if you were going to come right at Buddy McGirt, he could box you. But Meldrick could give him angles that were more difficult. I think of Roy Jones James.
Teofimo is confident and prepared. He says boxing is all about mindset, and his mindset is ready for this fight, built through repetition, focus, discipline, and muscle memory.
Are you mentally prepared with the audience? Are you mentally going to be prepared with the certain punch selection? There's things that I have to maintain as well. Those are things that I have to work on within myself. It's a muscle. Think of it like condiments, right? You got your ketchup, you got your mustard, you got all these type of condiments, but you don't know if you like it or not unless you try it. And I think the same thing applies when it comes to getting prepared for certain things like this. Pretty much you have to try different things, different steps, different routines, different ways to see what really fits and works for you. And if they all fit and work for you, when is the right time to apply them? And it's a muscle memory that you have to create now. If you don't create now, it can harm you the day of the fight. The mentality part of it is going to really be the key moment for who wins that night. I'm that type of person, truly, that type of person that focuses on being.
Meanwhile, Shakur Stevenson stays locked in at training camp, giving his best every day, sharpening his skills, refining his movement, and preparing both mentally and physically for the upcoming challenge.
Right at that chest, it's coming, it's coming.
That was 9 rounds of sparring. I ain't gonna tell y'all the minutes, but oh yeah, I'm preparing to my fullest. So I'm putting in a lot of work and getting ready. Sure.
Word.
Training with Shakur is amazing. A guy like me been knowing Shakur for over 10 years now. The boxing world know that we brothers and we'll never fight each other. And just being around him in his camp, man, it's nothing but positive energy. And everybody wanting to be great. He's like my big brother, man. Like, he is my big brother, honestly. You know, he got all the wisdom in the world, especially when it comes to defense. So he's just making sure I stay sharp on my defense and not getting hit.
Wade, the host, emphasizes that this fight is excellent for boxing. He points out that both fighters could have chosen other opponents, but by facing each other, they've created something special. He explains that high-stakes matchups like this open doors to even bigger fights and greater opportunities. Best versus best fights benefit the sport, and even the fighter who loses can gain from the exposure and experience.
This is what people don't realize about making best versus best fights. For the most part, only good can come from this. I'm going to knock on wood when I say that because I don't want to have one of these fights where we get a stinker performance or anybody. But when the pressure is this high, when the stakes are this high, and you get this kind of opportunity, it will compound interest, even sometimes for the loser as well. This is why you look at MMA and you look at the UFC, and they have guys with 10 losses, 5 losses, 12. Some people that you would never think are going to compete for a championship, and maybe they don't even compete for a championship, but they're in interesting fights that people want to watch. Doing fights like this makes Teofimo Lopez, makes Shakur Stevenson a bigger name, and therefore, after this...
Wade compares it to MMA and the UFC, where athletes with several losses still build reputations and participate in exciting, watchable contests. These matchups keep fans invested and generate anticipation. By facing a top competitor, Teofimo Lopez elevates Shakur Stevenson's profile and vice versa. After a fight like this, both fighters gain recognition, setting up future high-profile opportunities. Fans tune in because they know they'll witness elite athletes competing at the highest level, making every bout meaningful and influential.
I love that type of stuff because what Teo's saying is true. Like, for him to go to the next level in his career, and for Shakur as well, they need to be tested, and they have been, especially Teo. Teo's taken some tough fights. He's beaten Vasily Lomachenko, beaten Josh Taylor, beaten Arnold Barboza. Like, these are tougher. Sandor Martin was a tough test as well. But my point is, this is how you get better. And this is why it frustrates me that guys won't take tough fights until they're 25-0 sometimes. And he's talking about Shakur's lateral movement, talking about how good he is as a boxer. This is, again, win or learn, in my opinion. Not that the stakes don't matter, not that wins and losses don't matter, but how are you ever going to really show your talent level if you aren't competing with the best? And Shakur has the same opportunity. This is Shakur's toughest test, no doubt about it. The Williams-Zepeda fight was a tough test because of the style of fight that Zepeda brings, but Zepeda is not the boxer that Teofimo.
Sean Porter confidently says Shakur is going to be Shakur, highlighting the young fighter's unpredictability and consistency. On fight day, it's never clear which version will show up, Shakur or Teofimo Lopez. But one thing is certain, Shakur brings his own style, skill, and intensity every time he steps into the ring. Porter reflects on Shakur's last performance, noting how he adapted to his opponent, sized him up, and eventually took control. Despite hearing criticism calling it running, Shakur chose to stay in the pocket more than usual, displaying both bravery and strategic awareness. This willingness to take risks, even absorbing unnecessary shots, showcased his confidence and discipline. Porter emphasizes that this approach not only proves Shakur's talent, but also strengthens his fan base.
What I'm saying?
No, we gonna always Shakur gonna always be Shakur. The offense that we saw from him in his last fight was just, he knew what he had in front of him, and eventually he knew that he was going to be in a position where he could have his way with with the kid who was in the ring. I'm losing his name off the top of my head.
Right, I know you're talking about. But I believe he fought that way because he started hearing all the call of him running. He started saying, you know what? Let me stay in the pocket, because he stood in the pocket a lot more than he normally stood in the pocket with that fight. You know what I'm saying?
It took some unnecessary shots.
Huh?
It took unnecessary shots.
Well, okay, right. Mm-hmm. But you see what kind of fan base he got after that too. The doubters started saying, you know what? I'm gonna roll with him.
Doubters who previously criticized his style began respecting him, realizing his determination and ring IQ. Shakur's ability to remain true to his style while adapting to the moment demonstrates why he's considered one of boxing's most exciting talents, capable of handling high-pressure fights and earning recognition from both fans and analysts alike.
Mayweather did his last 10 fights damn near. You know, like, nah, man. What?
Nah, Mayweather wasn't running, bro. Mayweather was he was out there putting on master classes. He was not
doing what he was doing when he was Pretty Boy. He was not bringing it to him. Come on.
Well, them hands was like skeleton hands by them.
Okay. Whatever the reason was. I went with the eye test. Man.
So
when you go ahead.
So when it comes to Shakur and Teo, I feel like if it's not if Teo's not fighting someone that's being aggressive, pressing him a little bit, he taps out. And I feel like Shakur is not going to trade the way he did in the last fight, because he knows he's going up in weight and Teo has power, obviously. So I believe that this is going to be one of those fights where he kind of fights on the outside, frustrates him a little bit. I expect it to be a fairly boring.
Mikey Garcia talks about the upcoming Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez fight, calling it a huge matchup that boxing fans are eager to see. He praises both fighters but highlights Teofimo Lopez's unpredictability. Sometimes the Lopez who defeated Lomachenko and Taylor shows up, a dominant, highly skilled competitor, but other times he can have an off night. That inconsistency is the only real question heading into this fight. Garcia explains that facing a fighter like Shakur Stevenson is never easy. Stevenson's technical skills, speed, and adaptability make him a difficult challenge for anyone, regardless of size or experience.
Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez, big fight coming up pretty soon. What do you think about that matchup?
How you doing, man? Great to see you, brother. Always good to see you. Happy New Year. You too.
Great matchup, tough fight. I want to see what Teofimo shows up, because sometimes it's Teofimo, sometimes it's Teofimo, the great fighter who beat Lomachenko, who beat Taylor. That's a tough Teofimo. But then we've also seen him, in off nights.
Right.
And so that's kind of the only question that I have. Which Teofimo's gonna show up.
What do you think he has to do to kind of deal with a guy like Shakur Stevenson? How would you approach a fighter like Shakur Stevenson if you were Teofimo Lopez with the attributes that he has?
I would think Teofimo, being that technically he's a bigger fighter, bigger size, he's been at the weight.
When discussing how Lopez could approach Stevenson, Garcia notes that Lopez has a size advantage, having competed at this weight class longer and carrying more physicality. Using that size effectively could help him control the fight and create openings. But Stevenson's intelligence and ring awareness make the matchup extremely challenging. Garcia emphasizes that this fight is a true test for both men, a clash of skill, power, and strategy that could define their careers and captivate fans worldwide.
Shakur Stevenson's so fucking good at what he does. Defense is on point, speed is on point, footwork is on point. And he's really one of the best skilled fighters out there. So it's hard to say, oh, this is what you gotta do. No, it ain't easy, trust me. But being Teofimo, again, if he's bigger, naturally stronger, then he should try to use that, to his...
Mickey Bay breaks down Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, keeping it real about the fighter mindset, focus, and love for boxing. Bay explains that while Tank Davis could challenge Shakur if he saw him drop once or twice, a win over Teofimo seems unlikely for anyone who isn't fully prepared. Shakur's dedication and focus set him apart. Bay emphasizes that Shakur is a true gym rat, constantly training, locked in, and aware of his skills in the ring.
Nah, unless Tank, if Shakur get dropped once or twice and he still get up and win, maybe, but nah, if Shakur win this fight against Teo, I don't see it happening. I would love for it to happen, Tank got the talent. I mean, that's a good fight to me. I always looked at it like at least close to a 50-50 fight outside of his you know, Shakur just seemed more locked in and more focused than him. Tank just seemed like he ain't, I don't know, it don't seem like he loved the game right now. So he just got to get his love back for the sport. Even if it ain't the love, because a lot of people could do it without loving the sport. But fighting a dude like Shakur, you got to be locked in, because Shakur is locked in. Like he more locked in than your top.
While the fight may be close, especially in the early rounds, Shakur's discipline, focus, and passion for boxing make him the favorite. Base stresses that mindset, preparation, and love for the sport are what make champions truly unbeatable. Robert Garcia shares his thoughts on the highly anticipated matchup between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez, emphasizing the talent and skill that both fighters bring to the ring. He highlights that Teofimo has delivered impressive performances and significant wins, while Shakur is a three-division champion aiming for his 4th title, a remarkable achievement at such a young age.
Even the top, like 99%, he in that small percentage of fighters that just love the sport, and he always in the gym. It's hard to beat a dude like that. That's why it was hard for Canelo to beat Terrence. As good as Canelo is and as bigger as he is, Terrence locked in. He a gym rat. Shakur's a gym rat. So that's kind of why I give him the edge over Teofimo. It's a good fight. Teo is like a wild card. You don't know what you're going to get, but he do step up in them top fights.
Garcia stresses that beyond skill, this fight will test heart and determination, and he believes the winner will be the one who plays the smarter game, minimizes mistakes, and capitalizes on opportunities rather than relying solely on power or aggression. While the bout may not feature non-stop action, every exchange will be critical, and fans will be on the edge of their seats, watching for who lands the decisive punches. Garcia notes that both fighters are in their prime and not waiting for a later stage in their careers, which makes this fight even more compelling. He emphasizes that primetime matchups like this showcase what boxing is all about: skill, strategy, heart, and timing. Fans will truly appreciate the clash because it represents two elite athletes at the peak of their abilities, delivering a fight worthy of attention. The analyst discusses how frequent trash talk in boxing can sometimes hint at a bit of insecurity. He points out fighters like Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and Clarissa Shields, noting that while they are highly skilled, some critics claim they lack knockout power.
Guys that represent New York and New Jersey respectively, Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson getting together. What do you think about that matchup?
That's a great matchup, man. Both fighters are great fighters, very talented. Teofimo has had some great performances, great wins. Shakur is also a 3-division champion going for his 4th. Unbelievable talent. It's a fight where we're going to see talent from both, but we also have to see heart. That who has that heart to become.
In the end, this fight isn't just about size, belts, or highlight reels. It's a collision of mindsets. Everyone we heard from landed on the same point. Champions are forged by preparation, courage, and the willingness to accept risk. Teofimo brings physicality, footwork, and upside. Shakur brings discipline, ring IQ, and a steady confidence honed in the gym. That contrast is what makes the matchup magnetic.
That fight's going to be more about who's smarter, who plays the better cards, and who doesn't make mistakes. Because it's going to be one of those fights where we might not have too much action, but we're all going to be standing up because we want to see who's going to land and who's going to be the one that finds those punches to land. It's a very interesting fight, and they're both in their prime. They're both, that's what boxing is about. We're not Ortiz, Boots, Teofimo, Shakur. They're not waiting till they're 37, 38 to fight.
Technically, this is as much a chess match as it is a boxing match. You've got power and angles on one side, and precision, adaptability, and timing on the other. A mistake, a single well-timed punch, or a shift in momentum will matter more here than in a mismatch. And several analysts reminded us that the smarter fighter who makes fewer errors will likely walk away with the nod.
You look at what do these fighters have in common? Some people say they don't have a strong punch. So, again, I understand showmanship, I understand trash talk, but you don't want to be the boy who cried wolf. That's the point I'm making. You don't want to be the boy who cried wolf. And I feel like with Shakur, we hear it all the time. Even Devin and Clarissa, the other examples that I gave, we do hear this where it's like, I'm gonna knock you out, I'm gonna punish you, I'm gonna stop you. Devin Haney even made a bet with Ryan Garcia telling him he needs to retire in a bet, if I knock you out in the first round, you have to.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time. Thanks.